Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today, I believe, is the 8th of March. Um, it is a Sunday. The video is going up today. I had the video done yesterday, and this fits totally in with the video of incompetent boobs and, all these people saying completely fucked up things, right? It's really bad. But this is so egregious, I decided to put it at the beginning of the video. And sets it's going to set the tone for everything I covered yesterday. So this guy shows up for some kind of thing. It looks like some kind of military thing. Shield of Americas. And let's go for the beginning. He says it early on here.
But it's going very well. Sit down, please. And tremendous progress has been made, as you're probably seeing just by watching. We're doing something. I built the military and rebuilt it and made it really strong. And
Thank you for your service. Did you? You did that, did you? Because I've heard you say it like fucking 100 times, how you rebuilt the military. I've heard you say it 100 times how great you are, how fucking wonderful you are to the military, how it was in disarray before you got there, and then Biden fucked it up after you rebuilt it, but then you rebuilt it back in a year, which is impossible. Right? And that you guys are depleting the shit out of it, that Biden gave all these weapons away to the Ukraine for no return, and now, Russia, and I'm going to cover this in my next video. I got to find the clip, but I saw that Russia is starting to give intel to Iran and where to strike Americans. They have, better idea of where American positions are. So they're starting to do with Iran what America did with Ukraine, right? So support them as they deplete our supplies and shit. I also heard there's this guy George. I don't know what his last name is. I think his name's George, but he's an Irish politician who's been very outspoken against Israel. And he was Galloway, maybe? I don't know. But he's an Irish politician. I've seen him. He used to be, a lot more videos were from, I don't know why, there was these things that I used to see a lot. And then he stopped. I don't know what happened. But he was talking about how, he said, he should speak out against Israel. I mean, not Iran. They say Iran, I don't know. He would say how Israel's getting he said Israel's getting a hiding. And you can't see it because anybody who releases a video gets immediately 5 years prison time. Just without a trial if they release a video of the destruction being done to Israel. So, there's that. I don't know if that's true or not. Someone else sent me a video, which I'll show in my next video, not this one, but it's a young woman saying that Netanyahu was flying around. He had to leave, like what their version of Air Force One is flying around, and no one wants to take him in, right? Because they're all, these countries around there. So, there's possibly that. So we don't know. Like Trump's just a fucking lying piece of shit. But look, he's very low energy. He's just low energy. So this idea that what Tucker Carlson's going to say in this video here, that Trump thinks that this is a winning strategy, I know that's not true. I think he knows that he's fucked here. Because look how, low energy is.
my first administration, along with a lot of other things we did. We had a great first term. And now we're using it. Unfortunately, we have to. But you're seeing how great it is. There's no military like it on Earth, not even close.
Yeah, so why would they attack us? Why would in the world would Iran attack us, right?
And we're doing very well in Iran. You see the result. And it's been amazing. We've knocked out 42 Navy ships, some of them very large, in 3 days. That was the end of the Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out their communications, and all telecommunications is gone. I don't know how they communicate, but I guess they will figure something out. It's not working out too well. And they're bad people. They're just bad people.
They're just bad people. They're just bad. We're good. They're bad. It's like that. It's like that simple. They're bad people, even though we attack them unprovoked. On the behest of Israel, is a piece of shit country that just killed 300,000 kids. You know, they're the good guys. Those were bad kids. They're bad kids they killed in Gaza. They were just fucking bad. They're just bad kids. I mean, they had no chance of being good people. They were just, especially the babies. Like fucking, those babies were fucking bad babies over there. They're just bad.
When you look at October 7th and beyond October 7th, look at all the killing that they've done over the years.
Okay, so they didn't do October 7th. They're not connected to Hamas. They're connected to Hezbollah, right? Hamas is on the other side of Israel. Like Israel's between Iran and Hamas. Hamas was Iranian. Was Israel's. They were paying them. They were funding Hamas. They were their asset, right?
For 47 years, and this had to be done. They were very close to a nuclear weapon. They would have had one if we didn't do our B-2 hit, Midnight Hammer. They would have had it 8 months ago. They would have had a nuclear weapon, and, they're crazy, and they would have used it.
Okay, so there's zero evidence to support that. He's just making shit up. Like, you're going to see this with their religious bullshit, right? If they're going to talk about this, a holy war. If it's a holy war, this is Armageddon, and there's this crazy bitch I'm going to show you. Like, you know who I'm talking about already, I'm sure. So, with these fucking bullshit evangelical people who have no connection to Jesus at all. They have nothing. Like, Jesus is not, they have an imaginary Jesus or a demon that's posing as Jesus that they pray to. I don't know what the fuck it is, but they're not really spiritual or religious even. But they think this is going to go well because it's God's will, because that's all they could say. But then you don't have to fucking lie. If it's God's will, you don't have to fucking lie, right? Because the Iranian government has backed down so many times, showing that they are not crazy and suicidal. That their whole existence isn't just to destroy America or destroy Israel, right? And most of the stuff they've done is, in terms of the body count, any kind of proxy wars, any of this terrorism. And again, it's a shitty government. Like I said, the people that I know in Iran can't do the meditation. They can't do the meditation. They have to do it in secret, right? Like, they have no ability to, practice spirituality in their country, which is, to me, the worst thing, right? Like, we can meditate here without having to get harassed or even, locked up. And so, I'd like to see their government collapse, based on, people I know who do the meditation I do, who are Iranian, Iranian citizens. It's not a great government. They're not psyched to be. It's a shitty government that we fucked them with, which I'll get into more when we get into Pete Hegseth's bullshit stuff, because they're just making shit up. But Iran has shown over and over again they have some level of self-preservation because they haven't got a nuclear weapon. They're always weeks away, according to Israel, but they never did it. And if they did do it, they have to get away. They have to have a way to drop a bomb or shoot a missile, and they didn't really have that capacity, right? These missiles that they're shooting are small. And so, it's just like with North Korea or some of these other countries. There's some level of self-preservation. That's why they don't use it, because they know that they're going to get their ass kicked. They know that, if we have a much better way of, the nuclear missiles that we could unload on Iran, would wreck that whole region. If they hit us with a nuclear missile, we could obliterate that country. Kill everybody. It's just, destroy that whole country, devastate it, right? Fucking glass it, right? Turn the whole fucking thing into glass, those deserts and shit. It's fucking not even close to what they have, what they would have. They would just have the capacity to make it, to create a nuclear explosion. They wouldn't have a delivery system. They might have planes that could drop a bomb in Israel, so they might be fucked, right? But if they dropped a bomb in Israel, they're not that far away. That fucking radiation's going to hit their country. That's the other part about it. So, there's no evidence that they were ever going to have one and they would use it. But him saying, well, they're just crazy. And then he's also saying that they got rid of they got rid of, obliterated it, and so they didn't need to do this war, right? This is 100% just Israel doing this. It's not Armageddon. It's manipulation by evil fucking people. And it's evil people against bad people, right? This is what, it's not, there's nothing good here, right?
So we did the world a favor.
We did a world fair. Thanks for your service.
And they said, well, how are you doing on a scale of 0 to 10? How are you doing
Is it 11?
with the attack? And I said, about a 15, I would say.
Oh, see, I even underestimated his bullshit. Right? I thought 11. I haven't heard this part. I stopped at that. And I ever got this original quote that was just someone sent me the original quote. I found the whole video here. I thought it was 11. I thought he was going to say 11, but of course 15. You should have. Usually the braggadocious fucking narcissistic piece of shit would say 20.
With 10 being the best.
Then you're so clever, fucking.
It's something that had to be done, and we're doing it well. And I want to thank everybody involved. I'll be going right after this. I'll be leaving for Dover, very sad situation, to greet the families of the heroes coming home from Iran, coming home in a different manner than they.
He's just dour. All right, so you're coming home in fucking boxes. You mean? All right, so. And they're going to try to make these people martyrs for, a war that we started. And so Pete Hegseth is going to say something just as fucked up later on in this video. We're going to get into these crazy religious people. But he's just making shit up. Like, that is not true. Anybody watching this, yeah, Fox News will say it's true, and his dumb fuck followers, but no one else will believe this. No one has got any kind of clue what's going on. The people who don't watch anything and don't know anything, they don't know anything. People don't watch the news, don't care about it, But people who do know that this is just a complete lie about Iran, and what Pete Hegseth is going to say. I mean, they're making it sound like Iran was bullying them and Iran was the aggressor. Iran was not the aggressor. Like, we know that. Whatever they did, these proxy wars or whatever they do, they were doing minimal damage at best, right? Israel's now going to go after Turkey. I don't know if I put it in this video or the next video. Like they're already talking about it. Like fucking, Israel's just, they want the promised land. And so, like, it's just a lie. Like, pretty much everybody kind of knows, even Don Lemons, has this idea out there, kind of, where it's, that this is a war that was created by Israel. And Marco Rubio said it. Israel's going to attack, so we were going to get attacked. What's Israel attack? So we did first strike. And so, whatever this thing plays out, it's going to go poorly, right? It's going to fail. So let's get into the fucking religious bullshit here. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is the 7th of March. It's a Saturday. I really want to get into this holy war thing. In a way it is, but not in a way that certainly Trump thinks about it, or anybody involved. Well, let's start off here. The Republicans must do with passion and at the expense of everything else the Save America Act, and not the watered-down version. This is a country defining fight for the soul of our nation. He's saying exactly what Joe Biden said. We're fighting for the soul of our nation, right? And a nation doesn't have a soul. Like I talked about this with Biden. A country is a country, right? If you're talking about a culture, well, that doesn't have a soul. If you're talking about a government, that certainly doesn't have a soul, right? Something has to be physically alive to have a soul, or something like, there's spiritual energy behind rocks and plants and things like that. But man-made constructs are not, there's no soul to it, right? Only the soul energy that people bring to it. People have souls, and animals have souls, and, trees have souls, or whatever it is. And people have, a more evolved, I don't want to say more evolved soul, but a more evolved expression of that soul. And so we bring spirituality to it. We bring divinity to it. And nobody's bringing divinity to our government, right? Least of all this guy. So, there's that. Okay, so this was recommended to me immediately. Here, let's see what they say here.
We are honored to come before your presence today, lifting up the arms of our president. We pray for your continued blessing and favor to rest upon him. We pray for wisdom from heaven to flood his heart, his mind, and Lord, you will guide him in these challenging times that we're facing today. I pray for your grace and your protection over him. I pray for your grace and protection over our troops and all of our men and women serving in our armed forces. And Father, we just pray you'll continue to give our president the strength that he needs to lead our great nation as we come back to one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We pray your heavenly blessing upon him in Jesus' name. Amen.
Holy fuck. So this crazy bitch right here, we'll get to her in a moment. You don't have to pray. I mean, it's counterintuitive to do something spiritual where you're laying hands on people, right? I mean, you can move pranic energy, pranic healing. The prana is, your life force. This transmission that's given in the Sajmark system is called Pranhuiti. People could move energy, like, I know how to move energy. You can move energy with your physical system. And there's, there's stuff like Reiki or whatever. But prayer and a meditation is not physical. You don't need physical touch. In fact, anything that's going to bring awareness to your body is a bad thing. But these are goofy fucking prayers. But this lady's getting a lot of attention here. And so let me show that. Let's go to her here. Trump's spiritual advisor and personal evangelist, Paula White, who prayed with him yesterday in the White House, is a bit of a radical and fanatic. No? Here she is here. Let's take a look at what Paula White has to say.
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God.
Okay, so she's crazy as a shithouse rat. And, this kind of prayer, or whatever the fuck this is, this kind of stuff where it's, high emotion and high energy. God is peaceful. Like, God is serene. Like, God is simple. You have your lower emotions of fear and anger and greed and lust and, these types of things. They're in your belly. Hatred, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if hatred's an emotion, but those kind of lower tendencies, your animalistic ego tendencies. And then you have your higher nature, which is in your heart, which is love and compassion, things like this, which is serene. You have to be in a peaceful state to obtain some kind of connection to God, right? Some feeling of God's love. This is, let's watch the end of this thing here.
I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory.
It's got a little rhythm going there. It's got a flow. This crazy bitch has a flow going.
I hear a...
Of course, she's dressed in red up here.
Sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. For angels are being released right now.
They're being released. They were held captive. But her with her fucking crazy ass prayer, she's releasing angels.
Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now.
Why Africa? Why Africa, crazy?
Africa right now, from Africa right now. They're coming here. They're coming here. In the name of Jesus, from South America, they're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. From Africa, from South America, angelic forces, angelic reinforcement.
Holy shit. All right, so what else does she say here? Victory.
I hear the sound of victory. I hear the...
It's hard to listen to. It's very off-putting. I want to put this in my Journey series, but shit, it's just so... It's the opposite of divinity, right? So I wanted to get bitch in a bigger video where isn't half, the video that you're watching is somebody posted on X with a picture above it, right, with just the full video. And I literally clicked onto X, and this was the literal first video that was up there, right?
How many of you want to be a blessing? Because I'm telling you, there's an anointing of release right now. I want $100,000 to come in. I want $100,000. There are 10 people that could give $10,000. There's 100 people that could give $1,000. Get a check, make it payable to Paula White Ministry. There are people that are watching right now. If you say, I don't have it, give $100. Bring up a sacrificial seed. This isn't for me. This is about kids that will die without you being obedient.
Without you being obedient to who? You? Fucking, which I'm going to say at the end of the video. I'm about to say this in a voiceover. No connection to Jesus here, right? Like, these are Christians with zero connection to Jesus. Like, they are. This is, the kind of people that Jesus went into the temple and turned over the tables, the money changers, right? These are not at all aligned with Jesus and his teachings and his vision and spirituality and these things. They're grifters that are taking advantage of these things that I'm going to talk about later in this video. These puppet strings that are already in place, right? So you're going to hear that later. But, this is nothing to do with Jesus at all, right? Like, zero. And I'll restate this later on today.
This is about kids who are going to be minstrels and instruments and warriors and mighty for God. This is about kids who are going to make a difference. I'm not going to take everybody's blessing. Come on. I'm going to tell you, get a seed of sacrifice. Get in the arena. Get in the arena. I need you to stand. There's only 3 envelopes. I'm not moving. I'm not going to lay hands on people till you're obedient. Get out of your seat. Come on. And come.
She's not going to lay her fucking grubby little Gollum hands on you with her bad energy and her grifting energy. Fucking ghoul motherfucker, right? I mean, look at this fucking, cunt that's out there thinking that they're starting some religious war. Like, don't you know you're grifting? Like, grifters who are praying over Trump. Like, these, like, don't you know you're grifting? Like, that you don't have any connection to God. And, like, you're just, I mean, if you did that, you wouldn't need to fucking harass these people for money, right? It would just come naturally. And you wouldn't have to do it in some way where you're manipulating them and making shit up, right?
Bring up a seed. Come bring up a seed.
Unleash 2026 conference. It's worth fighting for ways to give all these things.
Come bring up a seed. Eddie, don't worry. You're going to get it anyway. You're going to get it with or without the people's obedience, but I got to break some ground.
People's obedience. They're not being obedient to God if they don't give her $100,000. You guys don't come up with $100,000. You ain't fucking, you're not being obedient to her, right? And there's emotion in these fucking, lower level emotion in these things that they do. And people will give money they don't have, or shit's like being drunk, right? Like, something comes over them and they're like, it's a whole thing, and they're like hypnotized, and they give money and they're like, oh fuck, why'd I do that,
In a day. It's not every want, but it is provision for the vision. The kingdom of God is there is no lack.
Okay, so this is Paula White. So then I just started to scroll down thinking I'd find the video I was looking for. In the name of Jesus.
In the name of Jesus, we command all satanic pregnancies to miscarry right now. We declare that anything that's been conceived in satanic wombs, that it'll miscarry. It will not be able to carry forth any plan of destruction, any plan of harm.
Okay, so you believe in abortion, do you? You believe in spiritual abortion? Is that what you're doing? In the name of Jesus, all these satanic pregnancies? Like, this is how fucked she is, right? This is how fucked Trump is.
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory.
Okay, so the one part that is impossible really to know for sure, and nothing you can know for sure with God. Like, God isn't about knowing. God is about feeling, right? There's a leap of faith. They can say faith for a reason, because faith is blind faith, right? But there's a piece in this kind of thing with Trump and these people and all of them that you really can't know for sure about them, what their exact role is. So according to the philosophy or the teachings of the prophecies and the dogma of the Sajmark system, that this is being orchestrated purposefully. The second master system, Babaji, was ordered to, create the conditions for the collapse of this system and give way to a birth of a new human being, a modified human being with spiritual tendencies and a system that's more a reflection of the divine will. That's, more in line with God's plan and God's energy. And so the destruction has to happen. And I've known about this for a while, and it makes total sense to me. Like, I've grown up in this system that I knew was fucked when I was a kid. Like, I saw things, to whatever level I could see them as a child, and then as I got older. And I think all of us see it, right? There's just a fucked up thing, an unnatural part, an ungodly part of our system. And the older you get, the more you see it, and it's going in the wrong direction, right? It's getting worse and not better. And so, on some level I know that. Like, I just know all of that. Like, I've known it my whole life. This is a system in its destructive phase, right? It's being destroyed. And, whatever experience I've had doing what I do here, covering what I call the beast, it's obvious that that's what has to happen. So that's obvious. And Trump and his dopes and the people around him are, they suck. Like, they're just, it's like, how could this not be divinely orchestrated? Not just with Trump, but with Biden and the Democrats and all the weird shit that they were doing, the trans stuff and the they, them stuff and all that weird shit that they were trying to force on everybody. And you still see it in the movies with all this feminist agenda and all this stuff that's in these movies and TV shows. It's so forced and contrived. American people didn't want it, and now they're backing off on it, right? And then the biblical aspect of this with Iran and Israel and United States and these things, the evangelical Christians and all these things coming together. How could this not be part of a plan? And everything's part of God's plan. So, I get all that part. Like, that part I can feel and see. But people's individual motivation, what they have to believe to execute something. And I talked about this in a recent video. Like, oftentimes God allows you to deceive yourself, to think, to have your ego think you're getting something out of something that you're not. Like, that you're going to be this victorious hero and that this is going to somehow lead to some kind of, utopia or whatever it is, right? That God is commanding you to do this to get rid of the evil. You're the good guys and they're the, that this is being done in God's name. You're the avenging angels and you're the, they're all coming to you to lead you to spiritual victory, right? The part that people have to be motivated by self-delusion, by, something that's just blatantly not true. And so, everyone has everyone invests in something, even if it's like alcohol and drug addiction or, like people put their life's energy into something, a number of things. Some people it's their family, some people it's their job, some people it's their, recreation into sports, something they're passionate about, even if it's TV watching, it's, they put a lot of their life's energy and whatever, and they get good at it just because they do it over and over again. They're practicing it all the time, right? And, since I was a little kid, I could always feel God's energy. Like, I could feel God's energy in people. I didn't know what it was to call it then. And I could feel it when I was in certain places, and I could feel the absence of it. I could feel darkness or grossness, things that were, far away from divinity, right? Something that's an abomination. Like, I was sensitive to all those things. And then, I cultivated this talent or gift or whatever you want to call it by meditating and doing the Sajmark system for a number of years. And so when I go to a place, and, energies change, but I would feel, this is a spiritual place. Like, you go to the ocean, there's always it's, in those places there's a balance between the land and the water, and there's just, the negative ions of the physical aspect of it. But, there's also spiritual energy at coastal areas, unless they've been completely contaminated by a city or something. But even then, the water itself, there's something there, right? Mountains and deserts, there's these places, these natural spiritual places that you go to. And then there's places where human beings, like the ashrams and, some churches and temples and things like this, where people are able to charge them with spiritual energy, and they are, more spiritual than the natural places because they've been enhanced with this prana, this divine energy, right? And the Sajmarg ashrams are the best of the best in this. Like if I was going over to a house of like a preceptor and I walked in and they were giving a sitting, I could feel it. Like if it would be in a room, maybe I'm walking in the front door and they're upstairs in a room giving a sitting, and I could feel a transmission. Like when I would walk into an area where the master of the system is, you could just feel the energy. All of us who did the system and, bought into it, we could just feel it, right? And we can feel when there's real prayer and when there's real energy. And again, I'm not trying to convince anybody anything. That's just, a fact of my life. It's something that I've been able to do. And when you're, listening to these people and watching them, that lady is, extreme example, but the first guy, there's no godly energy. Trump has no, connection to divinity. I mean, whatever, his role is in terms of being divinely orchestrated, oftentimes in these epic stories, certainly in the Mahabharata and these other, these divine dramas, the Ramayana in India, and then these other things, with Jesus and some of these other stories, there's demons. Like there's people who are demonic. I mean, there's always people who are demonic, because everyone's a potential demon with their ego. But there's a demonic king. They used to call them Asura kings in India. And they had a bunch of them. Krishna, like when he was a little kid, he like wrestled this one guy and killed him. He was a demonic king, and these were like almost like monsters. These guys, right? They're stronger and bigger than the rest of the people. And of course, there were giants at a period of time. But there's always demonic energy and demonic kings and demonic rulers, and they always think that they're they're doing God's will, or they're the hero. Like each villain thinks they're a hero in their own narrative, right? Almost everybody, there's people who just think they're extras, right? People who aren't even a protagonist in their own story. But there's lots of people out there who are demonic or going in a negative direction, and they think they're the heroes. They think they're the victims. They're the wronged person. They're the whatever they do is justified. I've talked about victim consciousness and abuse, and a victim statement at the center of all negative behaviors is a victim statement. Trump is always whining about being mistreated and the system being rigged against him. He's fucking president, right? He's a billionaire president, but somehow the system's rigged against him and everyone's against him. And he's just so great, and nobody sees it, right? And they're not giving him awards, and they're not, he's like constantly whining. He's a whiny little victim, right? He's just, poor me. There's these people, these evangelicals, and there's, this energy that they pray with, and it's not prayer. Like, it's not, because they, if you come to God with an agenda, you want something to happen, you think something should happen, and you pray to God, and you do whatever the fuck that bitch was doing, and, these people do. God isn't going to, if you're going in the right direction and you're doing the job you're supposed to do for the divine drama, God isn't going to dispel you of this falsehood. Like, you're, and you don't want to be, you're not looking for truth. You're not looking to find the truth, right? You're just, you're going on, you have your agenda, and you want this thing to work out the way that you think it should work out, right? And this is the way they're praying, right? They have a, worldview and this thing with Israel and all this stuff, and everybody else is wrong and they're right. And they think that, they're going to God with this, like, hey, God, you're the ones telling us this is what should happen. And God is letting them believe that, and they don't want to, like I said, they don't want the truth. But when you really go to God, when you have a relationship with God, God tells you things all the time you don't want to hear. The truth is there. And oftentimes the truth is a bitter pill. God shows you, or you feel something and you see something, and, you're like, oh, that's not what I want to hear. That's not my, agenda. So, very few people can go to God and just not have any reaction to what God is the feedback that God's going to give you. Because, ultimately, every time you really go to God, God's going to say to you in one way or another, you have to change, right? Whatever your egotistical reasons for doing something, whatever you're thinking you're going to get out of something. I was talking about that with Field of Dreams at the end of the movie, where Kevin Costner's, who built this field, this baseball field with all these angelic baseball players, and all these people are coming to see this, this sort of like gateway from heaven to all these dead former baseball players. And he's like, "What's in it for me? Like, I did this. Why everyone else got something? What am I getting? Right? What am I getting out of this thing?" And the answer is always, you got to participate in the work. You were granted the opportunity to participate in God's work. You got to serve divinity. And that's not enough for most people. Like, that's not enough for the human ego. The human ego doesn't want to hear that shit, doesn't want to think that way. And these people have huge egos, and they have to believe something that's not true. So there's this delusional aspect to this thing. And, anybody with any common sense and seeing the way everything's going, seeing the way our country's going, see who Trump really is and the Trumpers and just all of it. And, the very fragile nature of a system that's based in lies, and divine will is always trying to erase anything that's an abomination, and we have a demonic system, which, anybody with any sort of perceptual abilities can see. Like, we're going in the wrong direction for a reason, because our system is, people in our system are flawed. Like, we have to change, and our system has to change in ways that no one's going to want to do. And so when you do something radical like this, and then hope that, somehow God's going to make it all work out, this is where you get into crazy land that, that will destroy the system. Like, people have become so self-destructive that people are so corrupt and so fucked up and so mentally ill and so, disconnected from the divinity within them, they self-destruct. Overpopulated species will act this way. When there's overpopulation, you have like self-destructive tendencies are activated so that the population will start reducing itself, right? Will start doing things in such a way that population reduction is inevitable. And that's what we're seeing here. So speaking of delusional, somebody sent me this thing from Pete Hegseth. Let me show you that.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
Holy shit, right? So somebody sent me this, and I searched for it because it was an Instagram video, and it had, it's just not, I like having TikTok or mostly Twitter or YouTube because I can control the volume and whatever. But I searched for this on Twitter because I thought that'd be the best place to find it. And I found it, and that's all they had was that 15-second clip. Well, that's actually 5 seconds, but that's all they had, right? And I'm like, well, I think this is real, but did this happen maybe a year ago? Was this about, one of these other things, right? The first Iran thing or whatever it might be. Like, this can't be for now, right? Like, is this fucking guy serious? And so then I found this longer clip here.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult.
Okay, so if you want to have a starting point for this war, and I've talked about this so much, but it needs to be said again, you can look up Operation Ajax. And they had a moderate, progressive, moderate in the sense of, progressive to what they have now, and a moderate, regular guy, a modern person who was in Mossadegh, this guy Mossadegh, who was not a religious fanatic. And Iran was, flourishing, and it was on the way up. And British Petroleum had gone in there and developed the oil industry and was taking 80% of the profit. And this guy was democratically elected. They were wearing modern clothes. The women weren't wearing HUD coverings. There wasn't any of this kind of fanaticism there. And instead of allowing this guy, unprovoked, because they weren't attacking America, they just had oil. And British Petroleum whined, this is a British company, whined to the CIA and the world government leaders, whatever they are, the controllers, and said these guys are trying to they want to split the profits 50-50, where British Petroleum would get 50% of the oil profits and Iran would get 50%. Or they were threatening to kick them out and just run the oil industry themselves, right? And so they didn't want that. So the CIA went in to get rid of this guy. This is, Trump saying this stuff about regime change, right? And, like I showed you that clip yesterday of him saying that, America, this is going to be great for regime change. This is going to be wonderful and wonderful for Israel, like this true nature, right? I should find that clip and show it again here. So, in all of this, they got rid of the guy and they put in this guy, the Shah of Iran, who was a puppet and he was a king. The Shah meant like king of Iran. And he wore military garb and he was brutal. He was vicious to the people. The people were suffering. He had a lavish lifestyle. He was a billionaire. And it caused a revolution. They kicked him out. And the current government was formed because of that, because America did regime change, and this is what they got, right? So to say that we started it is completely incorrect. And the CIA has admitted to this, and the CIA doesn't admit to shit, that they conducted this operation. And, you can watch that movie Argo because they address it a little bit in that. But this is well known. Like all these people, I know about it, and he should know, right? So he's either lying to the dumb fucks or they've just erased history in their own minds and they're delusional. Because we have aggressively fucked over Iran. And I talked about how I have Iranian, people who do the Sajmark practice that I was, pretty, I don't want to say close to, but close for me, right? I'm not a social person, but these Iranian people, these great Iranian people that did the meditation, and me knowing that my country fucked their country over. Like, not that I feel a sense of guilt because, it was before I was born and I had nothing to do with it. But, just USA, America, all that shit, that fucking bullshit they do. And, we fucked countries over to keep our lifestyle going. That's what America's done. And so this lying piece of shit, right? Like, just what a piece of shit. Because certainly in this conflict that's happened right now, America attacked Iran. And Iran has backed down so many times. Showed that they don't want any part of the ass kicking they're getting right now. Right? That they're, they knew that they'd be outmatched because they are. Nobody wants to get fucking, into a fight with a country or a person or a organization that has so much more firepower than you. It's suicide, right? Like this is it would be a suicide mission. They're not suicidal, as much as these guys want to say it. So this is what these delusional motherfuckers are telling themselves or telling their people, right? That Iran was the one who started this?
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
Jesus fucking Christ, right? So, this piece of shit, this poor character, total, just unqualified piece of shit. Alcoholic, fucking womanizer, low life, just the fucking, the scum of the earth. And these guys are walking around like they're being ordained by God. And, they have to fucking run America into the ground. Like, there's no, there's no fucking reality here. Like, these people are not living in reality-based lives, right? Like, holy fuck, right?
Must be involved in this election.
There's much better future for Iran. It's now beginning. It's going to be, I think, a great future. And the United States will ensure that whoever leads the country next, Iran will not threaten America or its neighbors, Israel, anybody.
Okay. Fox News is this fucking desperate, right? So this popped up on my YouTube, where they give messages. I barely ever watch Fox News. So, they have to, they must be sponsoring these messages. So if it reaches me, right, they're pretty desperate. But they're even more desperate when they use John Fetterman. Crossing the aisle, Senator John Fetterman defends the strikes against Iran, breaking with fellow Democrats to voice support for Operation Epic Fury. As a Democrat, they're afraid to just agree with Trump on anything. I'm always going to pick my country over party, meaning Israel. When he says my country, he means Israel. And I'm always going to acknowledge when a good thing has happened. All right, so, Fetterman was one of the key Democrats in Pennsylvania who Trump believes and Fox News and these people believe. Fox News fucked him too. Remember, Fox News called it for Biden first before any other network. And they clearly weren't protecting Trump. I think they thought they were going to finally get rid of him because they never liked the guy. But Fetterman was, lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania or wherever he was, and he was instrumental, or was it a town? I don't know, something. But he was interviewed about the voter counts. Like, this is when he first appeared on national news. He was interviewed about, how to, about Trump questioning the official voter count, and he blocked all that shit, right? He was Republican enemy number one, Trump, one of the, big Trump enemy guys. And then he ran against the Trump candidate, Dr. Oz. And this guy was inarticulate fucking moron before that. And then he had a stroke. Remember his disastrous debate? You guys all know this shit. And he became suicidal. He was checked into a mental institution right after he was sworn in. So he couldn't do his job immediately for like 3 months. Missed his kid's birthday, missed Christmas, he's got younger kids. And one of the senators who was concerned about him went to go see him and said that the guy was catatonic and he was making figure eights up in the air, right? Like drawing figure eights in the air with his finger, right? Like that's what he was capable of doing in terms of his communication. And then when he came back, he had auto processing issues and he couldn't understand when people spoke to him. And so, all that stuff. And he was clearly savaged. I mean, he was the target because of his incompetence, his mental incompetence and all of it, until he started to back Israel in ways that made all the liberals hate him. And now Fox News has embraced him, right? Like, that's how desperate they are. But him saying as a Democrat they're afraid to just agree with Trump on anything, pretty much everyone knows that this war is a fucking disaster, even Republicans. Like, they're agreeing because they have to. But no one is psyched about this thing. Even Trump and his administration know they're fucked. But the only guy who doesn't is Fetterman, right? And he's so pro-Israel, it's disturbing. So then this happened. I already had this yesterday, and then he reappeared on my YouTube feed.
Hey there, Senator. How you doing?
Fetterman smash. Fetterman smash. I used to do this thing called Fetterman smash before he had a stroke, and then he was just mentally incompetent.
I was wondering what you made of the
This Grug, George the Animal Steel looking motherfucker.
Department of War's sinking of an Iranian naval ship today.
Oh, I want to offer condolences to your boss. I know he's all broke up about the Ayatollah. Was,
Who's our boss?
what?
Who's our boss?
Huh?
You're offering your condolences.
He's just mentally impaired. Like, there was a couple of exchanges with him and liberals who were pushing him on Palestine, and he's just incoherent. He has no idea. He can't understand what people are saying. He's completely oblivious. He has no idea that the liberals have all left and are all pissed. Most of them have gone south on Israel. Like, he has no idea. And I think they're stuck with this guy for another 3 years. Like, it's a 6-year Senate appointment. He's a disaster.
It's my boss.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying though, it's like I know who you work for. It's very anti-Israel. And
We just reported on humanitarian law,
he's
sir.
very anti-Israel, and I'm very pro-Israel. So we can agree and disagree on things.
Sure.
That's great. Pretty good, Fetterman. You're just a kumbaya motherfucker.
Do you think it's okay for the U.S. to bomb an Iranian naval ship in international waters?
I think the world's better that he's dead now, and I think it's a good thing now that Iran will never acquire a nuclear bomb.
What about the naval ship today, though?
I have which else to have that, and if they think it's a good idea to have a nuclear bomb, I really disagree on that.
You disagree on that, so you just get to murder innocent people and attack a, there's no, his,
Is it okay for the U.S. to bomb naval ships without a declaration of war, though?
I'm sorry, I support killing the Iranian leadership.
I'm not talking about leadership, sir.
Why wasn't he upset about the way they killed all the Iranians?
What? You mean the Israelis? You got confused there.
I'm sorry, I support killing the Iranian leadership.
I'm not talking about leadership, sir.
Why wasn't he upset about the way they killed all the Iranians?
Senator.
Why wasn't he upset about it? He wasn't angry about
Who's he?
killing the thousands and thousands of young Iranians. He didn't seem bothered by that.
Who's he, Senator?
Okay, I don't know who he is. I think maybe he means the Iranian citizens, but whatever. This is what Fox News is stooped to, and Trump is in terms of his support. Now, first of all, people aren't pro-Iranian. I'm not pro-Palestinian or pro-Iranian. I'm not, I have some Iranian friends, right? I have Jewish friends. I have people in my life. The guy who started me in Sajmarg was, Jewish. He was no longer Jewish because he graduated to spirituality. Like, people leave their religion behind when they do Sajmarg. But he comes from Jewish ancestry. One of my few friends, one of my basketball buddies is Jewish. He's one of the few people that still contacts me. In fact, the only person from my past life, he contacts me every, couple of years and reaches out, writes to me sometimes. His son is a truther. And his son has an essay, like a college-age kid who's dabbling with the truth stuff. So I have Iranian friends I talked about. Like, I don't have, any kind of specific feelings about any government or place. I like India. I love India. I have a kind of a, love, dislike, hate, not hate, but, irritation with India. Like, it's an amazing place, but also kind of a terrible place. And all these places. I don't have some preferences. Certainly not for governments, right? So what I care about is truth and fair play and all those kind of things, and not murdering people and lying about it like they did with Libya. Like, I don't know anything about Libya other than what I learned when we got rid of Gaddafi and did regime change there, and it was upsetting. Like, I knew it was fucked from the beginning. I don't like lying. I don't like fucking being manipulated. I don't like, it isn't like I'm pro-American or pro any of these things. Like, a person, like I said, you can't be a patriot and a devotional person, because at some point your patriotism and your service of God are going to interfere with each other, right? They're two separate paths. So if you serve God, you're not you don't give a shit about countries, and I don't care about any of this stuff, right? I just don't like the fucking lying and the bullshitting. Even if whatever the things that they're doing are necessary for the survival of America, because we're so fucked right now that they, like any of these wars and any of these things that they've done in recent years, it's still fucking lies about them and pretending we're the good guys and all that shit. If you're going to have to do desperate things and you're going to have to hurt other countries to keep yourself going, at least just come out and admit it. Like, say it. Like, this is what we're doing. This is like fucking, we can either let our economy collapse or we can go invade Iraq, right? Like, that kind of thing. We don't have to do no bullshit 9/11 stuff, no manipulative shit, to a bunch of fucking brain dead people that don't even give a shit. Everyone's lost their moral compass. And so, that's where I am with all these things. I don't care about it, but, it's, you get the idea. So this is little Billy Bob Shapiro.
Back to the brain rotted. Okay, so yesterday, President Trump went directly after Tucker Carlson. He said, quote, "Tucker has lost his way. I knew that a long time ago, and he's not MAGA. MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first, and Tucker is none of those things, and Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that." All of which is obviously true, except that Tucker is smart. He knows...
Tucker's smarter than Trump. I think anybody can see that. Right? Ben Shapiro isn't stupid. Like, he's smart in his way, in his goofy way. But, nobody gives a shit what Trump says anymore. Like, Trump is done. Like, fucking, there's no rebounding for Trump. Like, things are just going to go from bad to worse. I just looked at I need diesel for the tractor. And I just looked at the diesel prices, and it's $5 a fucking gallon. You know, my pickup truck I have to charge the battery, and I just got it out of the barn, and fucking, I was going to go get diesel. And it's already up to $5, which was the highest I think I've ever paid. And, you know, I've got 4 5-gallon gas cans, so whatever that's going to be, right? That's like $100 for, you know, and that's not a big deal because that'll run my tractor like most of the summer and, you know, that almost for like a full year or maybe more. You know, it's not horrible, but it's like, holy shit, it's $5 a gallon, right? And gas has already gone up substantially, and it's just going to keep on going up. And that's going to fuck people up. Like you just need one thing like that for people to fucking, you know, cry for your head. You know, like that's just, you raise gas prices, and you come out and say, well, this is more important. If defending Israel is more important. And think about all the countries around the world that are so, like, people are living within the margins. I mean, people living $2-3 a day, and now gas has shot up. They're dependent on imports and exports and things, and there's going to be so many kids starving and so many people suffering from this around the globe, just for some bullshit pro-Israeli thing, right? So Trump is done. No one gives a shit. Tucker Carlson, you know, he's been late to the party, and he's never, you know, he should have went after Trump in the first place. I have something from him, right?
Exactly what he's doing. But like so many in the commentary,
like, holy shit, bro. Like, where did you get those Groucho Marx fucking, look at he's got the Groucho Marx thing going on.
business, the clicks and the giggles have contributed to a terminal case of brain rot. True, actual, undeniable brain rot. After Tucker said,
like, nobody listens to this guy. How can you listen to this guy talk about brain rot when you got the dumbest of the dumb fucks following Trump, and you and anybody's following you is either like, you know, people who are in the know. But I mean, he's just, you know, I mean, impossible to listen to. Like, he's such a fucking dweeb and just like obnoxious, right? I mean, he's better than Laura Loomer, but these are the two big pro-Israeli Jewish people out there. And they're like, you know, they're like a hate crime waiting to happen. Like, they're the most hateable kind of people out there, right? I mean, they're just people that are, you know, they're not going to help your cause. You want likable people. I mean, even Netanyahu's more likable than they are, and he's not likable. You know, like, you have all these Jewish comedians. You have people like Dave Smith on the other side, Max Blumenthal. You know, they're both likable, much more likable and more reasonable. If you've listened to Dave Smith and Max Blumenthal, who I've shown clips here, and so the people on the other side, the Jewish people on the other side, are so much more likable and more compelling. I mean, it's almost like they don't want to be like they want people to not like. You know, it's like a big fuck you to America. Yeah, we own you, and we can force feed you the worst kind of people, and you can't do shit about it. It's almost like that kind of thing. If it isn't that thing, it's like very close to that. Okay, so Tucker, this video came up last night before the Ben Shapiro. He responds to Trump here.
I flew up to D.C. 3 times in the last month to try to convince Trump not to do this. It didn't work. It happens. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, boy, this is not going to get better. So then I think I'll fly up again and ask him. I mean, I don't know if anyone else is doing it, so I'm going to try to just declare victory and go home. Like, you killed an 86-year-old cleric. Let's just call that a win and then pull back. And so then, meantime, he got convinced to denounce me. Okay, I don't care. I'm going to fly up anyway and see him, right? Even though he's, like, denouncing me. So I call over there to see, call someone who knows him. I said, I'm just going to fly up anyway and tell him this because I think it's so important. And the person says, don't bother, because he's being shown polling that this war is like a 90-10 win for him. And I said, I don't know where that polling is coming from. It's like,
like fucking made up shit, you mean?
I guess you could make any kind of poll, and he's watching Fox News, which is telling him the same thing, and he's getting fake polling. I guess they're only polling Sean Hannity's viewers or something. And so I'm not sure that there's a sense, as if this was yesterday, because I was getting so agitated and worried. I don't think that there's a sense that this is unpopular. Like, I think there's a...
Yeah, he's totally insulated. Like, he's Joe Biden at this point. Like, Joe Biden, they were only telling Joe Biden, like, little bits of stuff. Like, they're like, Trump looked defeated, so that's why I think he kind of knew. So whatever it is. But Trump just makes shit up anyway. Like, no matter what happens, Trump calls it a win. He goes bankruptcy, he calls it a win. Whatever it is, he's never like, oh my God, this is, it's just the grifter salesman in him. He never is like, hey, I lost or we're getting killed here. He never admits defeat. He just goes on the attack, right? This is, Donald Trump 101. It's in the movie The Apprentice. I mean, it's a interesting movie to watch based on his relationship with that guy, Roy Cohn, who was a gay Jewish lawyer that taught Trump all these things, right? And he died of AIDS, like his whole thing. And Trump, like, he mentors with the guy and then just disses him, like, and just like, I mean, they made Trump look bad. I don't know how much of it's accurate, but I think it certainly could all be accurate. But, Trump, this is what Trump does. And, he's got these people around him praying and all this shit. And, it's like when you gamble and you roll the dice on something and you have this false belief that you're assured victory. And this is what he's doing because of spiritual reasons or whatever things that you think you have, religious reasons, people telling you shit. And you go into something like you never know how it's going to play out. Like, when there's a war, a battle, a sporting event, you never know that things can go sideways. You've seen teams, the worst team in the league beat the best team in the league. And and Trump is not somebody who's curious. Like I showed you in the last couple videos ago, he was talking about how that guy left the Signal chat, the reporter, even though he was getting incredible, it was his big moment because he was bored. Like Trump was admitting he gets bored by all that shit, right? So in all that,
information vacuum here.
There's a massive information vacuum. And, for the president and the administration who declared victory based on internet and vibes and...
Okay, so Tucker at some point is going to respond to Trump turning on him. I guess that was it. Here.
This president, no matter who it is, in the case of this president, I know him really well for many years, and I will always like him. I don't care what he says about me. I will always...
That's pretty gay.
Have affection for him, but
why would you have affection for this piece of shit? Like Justin Epps, even after he's Epstein and all that shit, they fucking shitting me, bro. And he used to say he hated the guy, just like J.D. Vance.
I also think if you think about it, like this is the end of something. Voters take a guy from completely outside the political system because they're so frustrated with the system, and they like him or don't like him or whatever. But it's the system that is on trial here, and the system has been found wanting. It doesn't actually respond to voters in the way that it should. It's not improving the country. So they bring this guy from completely outside the system to shock the system and to tame it, to drain the swamp. And now I think we can say that failed. And so what now?
There's nothing. There's nothing now. The fact that you believe that Trump could do anything, that he was going to be anything but a disaster. But even if Trump was great, there's nothing that can fix the system. Nothing that can fix the debt. Nothing that can fix the slippery, the sliding down of humanity. I mean, people are getting worse and worse. The technological addictions, the screen addictions, like all the weaknesses, the entitlement. Jesus fucking Christ. Like these guys, I mean, they're just so late to the party. Like, I mean, he's where I was like 15 years ago. Of course, I wasn't, a shill, Republican shill who came from the news media and have all these connections with people. So it's different. But all these people that are coming into the truth community now, like Candace Owens and these other people, who back Trump and now are looking for something else. You're 10 years away from realizing we're fucked. Like if, whatever is organic in them, right? Like you shouldn't be listened to because, you have nothing. Like you're way behind the curve, right? Like I said, if anything, I wish I understood this earlier. Having a head start is not, that's 50 years ago. Like people saw this 50 years ago and started preparing their children or whatever it was. Of course, American children don't listen to their parents, so that's whatever that is. But, it's like too late, right? It's too late now. Like, what do we do now? Well, nothing. You're fucked. You watch it burn. That's what you do. Get out your fucking marshmallows. Okay. So this is Donald Trump fighting Israel's war? So I'm going to have to let's just see the intro and then I'll look. This is Don Lemons. Finally coming around to this, but not in a real way. Like just, asking a rhetorical question here.
Just trying to figure out. Can you enlighten us on this point?
I mean, my guess is as good as you guys, but I will say Marco Rubio came out.
Crystal Ball, Sam Cedar, and Mark Caputo. His guess is as good as my his. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's good. You guys tell me what's going on? Let me find the Israel part here. Okay, she says it right here.
Out today, and this was something that had been speculated and said that, well, the Israelis were going to strike Iran either way. And then we thought that our troops would be at risk. So we just decided to go ahead and join.
We have it, Crystal. Let's play it, and then I'll let you hash it out here. Here it is.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we...
Okay, we saw this. He said all this shit. You guys saw this.
That I think it was in a major briefing, that there was no imminent threat at all.
Right.
And so
From
who's
the
right
Iranians.
here is, yes, from the Iranians.
Well, and let me just say, I mean...
All right, so the only reason why Don Lemons, not his dopey people that he has on, these fucking piece of shit, right? Who are way smarter than him and, is because he's so stupid. So, I covered this how on day one he was saying stupid shit of what the war was about, like stuff that nobody would say, but he thought he was outside the box. And he didn't mention Israel, neither did any of these other news agencies, so I searched it, right? And so I'm scrolling through my Instagram messages. I hadn't gone through them in a while. And, I put this in the video, and I had scrolled through, looking for Israel, and there was nothing here. And somebody wrote me and said, Paul, you must have misspelled Israel, because I searched Israel on the Don Lemons video, and I found one comment with Israel in it. And the reason this person's banned is because, I did it 2 days before you. So, yeah, someone left a comment. I didn't spell it wrong. I mean, not that I'm a great speller. I'm, offended that someone think I might spell something wrong. But I didn't spell it wrong. I looked through it, and I made sure I spelled it right. When I'm searching through these comments, I'm very much more careful in my spelling because of it, right? Because of, I want to find it. I'm looking for Israel in the comment section or Don Lemons. And so if I misspell it, it's not going to find it, right? And so, and oftentimes I don't even spell the full word out because it starts when you're typing it in, it tells you how many hits there are. But this person saying that they're fact checking me because 2 days after I made the video, and that somehow I got it wrong, and wasting my time. I was looking through these Instagram messages, and I'm sitting there going, I don't think anybody who sends me Instagram messages, not anybody, I would say 80% of the people who send me Instagram messages don't watch my videos because they send me stuff I've already covered, or they send me things that I would never cover. And so they don't really watch my videos, but send me Instagram messages, and which is okay if they send me stuff that's legitimate. But most of the stuff I was scrolling through, I'm like, oh, so I was already kind of in a mood. And then some guy goes, hey, you spelled it wrong, and I found a reference. Well, I don't know why why you bothered fact-checking. You don't believe what I'm saying, which is fine. I don't care if you don't trust me, but don't tell me about it, right? And don't darken my door on my Instagram with things that just waste my time. Do you want a fucking, a gold star or something because you found a reference to Israel that I didn't find? What do you want? You want a medal? What are you looking for? You look at pat on the back? Because you're not going to get that from me. I did better than you did. Fucking. I'm not sure what.
As President of the United States, I will always support Jewish Americans, and I will always be a friend and a champion to the Jewish people. I have been. And I will say, you know, if you go back 10, 12, 15 years ago at the most, the strongest lobby in Washington was the Jewish lobby. It was Israel. That's no longer true. You have to be very careful. You have a Congress in particular which is becoming anti-Semitic.
Holy shit. So like this.
You have AOC +3. You have those people. Ilhan Omar, she hates Jewish people.
Boo, boo.
Very careful, because there's been a big change. You know, if you go back 15 years ago, I'm not Jewish, but my father was very friendly with many, many Jewish people, was honored by Federation. I would go with him to Federation of Jewish Philanthropies and many other things. And we grew up respecting and loving Jewish people. You know, you don't even think about it.
You don't even think about it. You just do it. Like fucking do their bidding, you know.
Brooklyn and Queens mostly. And my father didn't go to Manhattan. He never went to Manhattan from the standpoint. He could never understand how in Brooklyn you could buy a piece of land for $3 a foot and how in Manhattan you had to pay $1,000 a foot. He said, I can't get that. I don't like it. I like to buy it for $3. So it was different.
Oh, so he's is that where you learned to be cheap with it? All right, so like Jesus Christ, right? We don't need to see more of this, but like, you know, we already know Trump's owned. But this just popped up on Twitter. I was trying to scroll through and see what I was going to cover next. One more thing here, TPUS gay. Okay, so I want to revisit this.
Why do I love these wide open spaces? They remind me of why our forefathers came here. Not just for its beauty, but for the freedom only America provides. I'm Christy Nome.
Only America provides this freedom. She's Christy Nome.
From the cowboys who tamed the West, to the titans who built our cities, to the dreamers who chased the impossible.
Dreamers.
America has always rewarded vision and grit.
Boom. Fake blood. Actor.
Our greatness calls people to us for a chance to prosper, to live how they choose, to become part of something special. Anyone who searches for freedom can always find a home here, but that freedom's a precious thing, and we defend it vigorously. You cross the border illegally, we'll find you. Break our laws, we'll punish you. Harm American citizens, there will be consequences. But if you come here the right way, your American dream can be as big as these endless skies.
All right, okay. She's a really bad actress, but, you know, I showed you one of her old ads from when she was governor. She thinks this is a winning thing to do. This costs the American taxpayers $200 million. This is governmental money, mostly laundered through a shell company that was owned by her media person's husband, right? We all know that shit, right? This should be a crime, right? She should be going to jail. She stole money from the American taxpayers. And this was supposed to be the kind of stuff that they were going to get rid of. She was in herself going through FEMA budgets and DHS budgets, canceling, firing people, getting rid of stuff, get rid of, so-called waste and things. And she just stole $200 million, right? Whatever money that she got out of this, even if it was half, $100 million, even if it was $10 million, even if it was $1, it's still stealing from the American people. And he gave her a separate job. He's keeping her in his administration, some bullshit job where she's still going to get paid after, murdering American citizens and doing having a complete disaster of administration. But the fact that she's not going to jail, and maybe the Democrats will go after her when they get the, whatever it is. I doubt it, though. And, this money just went up in smoke because this did not help America, this campaign. This was to promote her. She really wants to be a star. She's really big into her own, narcissistic bullshit here. And she likes this. Like, these are her ideas. This doesn't help America. This isn't, legal immigrants aren't going to see this because they're not running in, Venezuela or Mexico or something, not running these ads there. So, she said this in a number of ads, hey, come here legally, but those people aren't going to get access to those ads. I mean, they're ridiculous. And the only thing they're worth is making fun of. I mean, they're retarded. They're like really stupid. They're horrible. But it's not worth $200 million. Like, there's free shit out there. It doesn't cost us anything that I can make fun of, right? But this just went up in a puff of smoke. Like, she just threw $200 million away, and then she globbed on whatever she did, which, she should be stripped of her everything. She'd be thrown in fucking jail, and they should strip her wealth away from her. Whatever money's here, whatever it is, all these people involved in it should all be in jail. All the, this money laundering scheme, but it's not going to happen. And, if Trump's a grifter, and he, grifters aren't big on like, all right, let's start throwing grifters in jail. He throws Kristi Noem in jail. Next thing you know, he's in jail because he's doing the same kind of grift on a much bigger scale with private jets from Qatar and these other things, right? But this is who Trump is. He's not a drain the swamp. He's not a fucking, a Doge, all that shit, Elon Musk. It's all been a lie. They've been, they're all stealing as much as they possibly can. Like, she did this thing where it could easily be found out. This is federal fucking money. She booked these ads for without permission from Trump. She got fired for it, which was, like I said, something that she did before on her own shitty ads in her South Dakota, when she was governor of South Dakota. She used the same person, and she, used federal monies to promote herself, and like everyone thinks she's a fucking joke. Her political career's done. She's not coming back. She could win something in South Dakota, maybe be a senator in a small state, but probably even there. She's disgraced, right? And so these things are just poof. The money just went up in a fucking poof of smoke, right? So, the Candace Owens is still stuck in fucking Erica Kirkland. I saw that I looked at her channel the other day, and her views go down with each video. Like, everyone's moved on to something else. Like, she waited too long. She always wanted to go after Erica. That was obviously her big thing. But the way these guys are handling it, like, they've backtracked on where Charlie was going. Like, Charlie's, realized that he had to go after Israel, or at least he couldn't endorse Israel like he was, because they were, his whole empire would be fucked, even though they built his empire for him. So, he's dead now, and that probably played a big part in it. But they're still pushing for Trump shit, right? Like, most Republicans and most of these pundits, whether it's Alex Jones or any number of these people, are all bailing on Trump to whatever extent, to whatever degree they do. Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly. They realize this war is a fucking complete disaster, and they can't be on the wrong side of this and survive it. Like, whatever narcissistic reasons there are, whatever their reasons are, they all, and, a lot of Republicans are realizing that Trump isn't the guy that they thought he was, and they're bailing on him. But not these motherfuckers. They keep on doubling down. Fraud plagues in the American trucking industry. Canadian government is killing the people. Look at the twink Blaze Neff. Look at these twinks. The left continue to smear Charlie's name and legacy. War with Iran. So this is one we're going to get to. See what they have to say about it. But there's only one thing to say here, right? And so, and they've getting no views. They're getting 7,000 views, 7,000 views, 7,000 views, 20,000 views. A lot of these views are from people who are, shitting on them in the comments section, which I'm not going to get into because I've done that so much. Breaking new updates in the Tyler Robinson case. You mean the Charlie Kirk case? All right, so what would Charlie say? Okay, the Twinks squared. Twinks squared. 2 beta males sharing 1 testicle.
Again, we came in, we did an emergency.
Yeah.
We had an eventful weekend.
To say the least.
To say the least.
It's an eventful weekend. We came in, we did an emergency special live stream on Saturday. Tens and tens of thousands of people saw that, so thank you guys for supporting the show.
Tens and tens of thousands? So 20,000? Right? 20,000 people did? So, like, you got nothing, right?
We did our best to honor Charlie, what Charlie would say in these situations. We obviously don't know exactly because he's not with us, but we have some good indications because
I'm going to have to read the comments because it's just too good.
we walked alongside Charlie in the summer strikes operation.
All right, so, remember I talked about this already. When Jesus died, when anybody dies who leads an organization, they're already all these groups of people. When it's a big organization and they all want to take it in different directions, they all have their claws in it. I saw it in the Sajmark system that became this Heartfulness fucking nightmare thing that I've talked about so much. It sucks. It could happen in families. We saw it that movie, the TV show, The Succession, this kind of thing. Everybody's speaking for Charlie. What would Charlie say? And first of all, Charlie was, who gives a fuck? He was a piece of shit, shill. The Charlie Shekels. But, there's people who still think Charlie was great, sure, whatever. Those people are pretty fucked anyway. So that is whatever it is. But these guys, clearly, their agenda is to go 3 years back with Charlie. Like, I didn't know what Charlie was before, but towards the end of his life, he was criticizing Trump on Iran when he bombed him. He didn't want a forever war. He was very clear on that. I mean, that's his position. And he wanted America first, and this is none of those things. Charlie Shekels was very pro-Israel. He was created by Israel, but he was bailing on them, and he wouldn't be happy with this thing, right? I mean, he wouldn't be, he would have been saying what Tucker Carlson's saying. And Trump is fucked anyway. Trump isn't choosing this, you can tell. Trump's been forced into this, so.
Midnight Hammer, we saw how he deliberated through those very tough decisions, those very tough backroom calls, those private conversations, and then what he would say publicly. And so I think we did a good job of that, got a lot of great feedback. And
you didn't get great feedback because, I'll read the comments here, and unless they've edited the comments out, then I'm not reading them. But, your feedback is you guys suck and go get your own channel, and Charlie wouldn't say that. That's the feedback you're getting.
Here's the bottom line is we don't know how this is going to turn out. We don't know what's going to happen in the
Yeah, we do. We all know it's fucked. We just don't know what degree. We don't know the details of the fucking yet. Right?
Days, weeks, months ahead. We don't know if this is going to ultimately be a success or if history will judge this to be a failure.
It's going to be a failure. There's no way this isn't. There's no way this was going to be a success. Iran's going to be a mess afterwards. America's already fucked. I mean, there's no way.
But I will say that, again, the U.S. military's incredible, I just would say, precision, their lethality.
Okay, let's see what you're saying about Charlie here.
Is the ultimate secession plan remains pretty. This is going to ultimately play out, and they can't say that enough. Charlie was very concerned about regime change wars, was very reticent about using kinetic force in this region, but at the end of the day, Charlie over and over and over again said, "This is why I elected President Trump. This is why I fought so hard for the president."
That's really what it is there would be two competing impulses with Charlie. And the reason we cite him, a big reason we continue.
Okay, so either he is right, he's a prophet, he could fucking turn street lamps on with his big-ass fucking dome. Like, these twinks can't do that. But you guys can't turn street lights on by walking or turn them off or whatever the fuck he did. But either he was right about this war, to say that he would say, hey, I don't like this kind of war, this regime change war, and then come back and say, well, no matter what, I support President Trump. We all have to get behind him. Those are two, you can't have both fucking things. Like, they're those two completely different things, right? Which everyone should know about. Like, that's just, I mean, either this is going to be a disaster or it's not. And it's going to be a disaster. We already know Trump himself said regimes changes don't work. So certainly Iran's fucked even more than we fucked them before. And we don't know what that mess is going to be. And this is a Israel war, which you guys don't want to talk about because you guys are trying to get shekelled, right? They're trying desperately, but they're become irrelevant. Nobody watches their shit. All right, let's go through the fucking comments here. First comment. I'm canceling my partnership. Very first comment, 61 thumbs up. Why don't you guys do a poll like Charlie did? 89 thumbs up. Blake looks like the guy who says, what am I, what? I'm not turtley enough for Turtle Club. Turtle. Trust me, bro. He would say this the exact opposite of what you guys tell us he would say. Fraudsters at work. Who is this imposter? That is not Charlie Kirk. What a joke. Two idiots. Stop putting words in his mouth and get off his podcast. These losers need to get a real job. Gig's over. Give it up. Nobody can listen to you, either of you, without their blood boiling. Charlie did express his views about the war in Iran. You'll have to earn our trust this time. An entire show based around what we guessed Charlie would say, literally putting words in a dead man's mouth. TP Israel. He would have said, Shabbat Shalom, Daddy's home, pay your taxes. We're building the Iron Dome. You are playing super old clips of Charlie before 12-Day War and propping them up next to recent footage. You must think we're absolutely morons. Get your head out of your ass with dollar signs. Maybe he would have continued to ask, was there a stand-down order? We miss you, Charlie. History is a record, not a judge. Charlie Kirk uploaded a poll on his Twitter account in July last year. Should the U.S. be involved in Israel's war against Iran? 49,000 people answered. 10 answered yes, 90 answered no. 14,000 views say it all. You people need to stop trying to be Charlie. Clearly, Erica has decided to go in the opposite direction of Charlie. So very sad to watch people that he thought were his friends. Turning Fraud USA. Who's running the show if Charlie isn't here with us? And speaking for the dead I'm genuinely confused. No, you're not. They're all fucked, right? So there's not one positive comment. So 20,000 views, and they can't shit out one fucking positive comment. They're just all like, fuck you, you guys suck. And they still are, I mean, how humiliating. I think I have the Erica here. We got this thing here. Remember? This good old thing. Remember this fucking wonderful thing we had? Yeah, look at those bearded men and fucking big-ass Trump thing. Trump is this still on his channel. This is still on his fucking channel after all this bullshit, right? On his Instagram page. And these, here it is. These two fat fucks sitting by the pool. Motherfuckers. All right. And then Erica J. Kirk is still, had this up here. So I guess she was at an event here. The president honored her here. This is her new post.
I get this question too.
From 2 days ago.
Of, well, you were a stay-at-home mom and all this stuff. Like, that's what you should go back to doing or something like that. A lot of people don't realize that before I met Charlie, I had my own company, and I still do. And it was one of those things where...
Yeah, what are you doing with that company? So, nobody trusts Erica Kirk button. Nobody trusts Erica Kirk button. The heart. Are people actually believing this lady? She makes me want to turn away from Turning Point. Honestly, I would be more impressed if she was staying at home with her sweet babies while they grieve instead of doing her nationwide tour. This one person positive. So much respect for her. This is probably a shill. I came here for the comments. I'm glad people are awake. All right. So she should be making a statement about the war. Like she's not. Like as far as I know, she's CEO of the company. She has those two fucking, those twinks, those two beta males, twinks squared over there. Talking about what Charlie would say. They're getting rung up. She's getting rung up here. I mean, just like, the whole thing's imploded in a way that's like really great.
I built it in a way where that when I got married and had children, it could run on its own. I didn't have to do day-to-day. I could check in, but I didn't have to do day-to-day. And that's the beautiful thing is like young women in here, if you do create a company or a business and you're an entrepreneur, build it in a way that it sustains itself so that when you do find your husband and you have children, family, that's your main focus.
That's your main focus.
You can have your calling on the side of your company, but your main focus is your husband and your children. And there's something beautiful in that. Unfortunately, I did not see my life being like this. I didn't. So when people are like, oh, she's now this role, I'm honoring what the Lord has put in front of me, and I'm also honoring my husband's request. And now I have to be the sole provider for my children. And
are you shitting me? She got $2 million in GoFundMe, $2.5 million right off the top. this nonprofit organization. She's raking it in. Like, fucking come on, bro. Like,
Again, this is not a business card opportunity. There's something very.
All right, I just can't even with her. All right. I'm done for today. This Saturday, March 7th. I'll check out some things tomorrow. I'll see what I'm going to do. Tomorrow will be the day I put this video up tomorrow night, so I have all day tomorrow to kind of finish this. Okay, so I want to say something about this thing with Erica Kirk and just this whole video in general. You start off with flawed groups already, right? And Erica Kirk and Tucker Carlson and Trump and Joe Biden's people and MSNBC and Morning Joe, they're all pandering to pre-existing demographics of people that are fucked in the head, right? That have been indoctrinated, right? All the people who believe that the Republicans or the Democrats are the good guys and the other ones are the bad guys, right? They've already got their hooks into you. All these people, the religious people, the religions have already indoctrinated you with a bunch of bullshit. And you're already you're already marks, you're already pigeons, you're rubes, like you're these people that they're taking advantage of. They're already fleecing you because you're in these groups. And it doesn't just mean of your money. It means they have a hold on you, right? So they have you. All the people who believe in America and believe all the bullshit they've been indoctrinated with, all the shit they've been indoctrinated by their religion, all the stuff they've been indoctrinated with the political system, and all the things they think about America. So there are these pre-existing demographics. And to, win over an audience, you have to find a way to connect with some of these demographics, whatever it is. There's these demographics of people. And it's really hard to do what I'm doing here and not do that, right? Not worry about what people's indoctrination is, not worry about what their bullshit is, right? And just say the truth. Because you can see, based in my audience and I've had probably, 10 or 20 million people who have seen or listened to my videos, right? And some of them like it. Let's say 5 million like it, right? Let's say 5 million people like one part of my videos or into something I said. And, at the end of the day, what do I have? Like 5,000 views a day, right? So, if I found one of these demographics, especially the ones where people don't have a voice, the flat earthers, they got grifted by a couple different people who reached out, who probably knew they were full of shit, but just, worked them because they were so desperate, right? People who are desperate in a fringe group, but any number of these groups, right? So Erica Kirk, when she's talking to these, she's using a certain kind of lingo, like a kind of Christian lingo. And the puppet strings are already there. Like, how to play these people because they've already, when an abuser, if you've been abused, an abuser leaves behind a set of puppet strings that other people are going to find unless you do something about it and manipulate, right? They're going to take those controls that somebody has already placed in you, and people are just going to continue to work you your whole life. People who can read you and figure out, what makes you, how to control you. And, there's fears and things that are inside of people and, all kinds of, trauma and, things that made people glitch out and short out. This is the whole idea behind mind control. That's why they abuse these kids in mind control programs, because then they have these controls. They're able to manipulate these people and control them in whatever way possible by these things that have been left inside of them from the abuse, right? The indoctrination also is a part of that. And so there's this lingo with these Christian women. My ex Erica Kirk reminds me of my ex. She was somebody like this, passionate, a Scorpio. I want to say they look similar, but there's some, they're the same mold. They're the same type of personality, same kind of, they're very similar. There's a perfectionism there as well, right? And, with my ex, she was a liberal feminist who went to Wellesley and went to the same school that Hillary Clinton, where they teach you to be, very progressive and these types of things. But when she started doing the meditation and found that Master Charji was, very conservative, she wanted to learn how to be a conservative woman. right? How to, go from being a feminist to a conservative. And she was very obsessive, and, she was good at learning things, but not good at implementing them. But she dove into it, and she found that there was these Christian communities of these women. There was some group called Moms of Many Children, something like that. It was some kind of like email group, like back when people had these email groups. And a lot of these women were Christian women who wore head coverings. And, they had some value. Some of them were homesteaders, and they had skills, and, there's things about them. And my ex got into the group, and they all thought that she was Christian. She was completely posing, not as a way to spy on them, but as a way to gain information, gather information. But there was fucked up things that these women believed, like they thought like homeopathic remedies were from Satan, and they wouldn't let people talk about like shit like that, right? Some of the things, anything that was outside the Christian tradition. But my ex, made me familiar of these Christian types of people. Of course, in the homeschooling community as well. So I'm aware of these demographics, right? I'm aware of the liberal demographics. I've had, I went to a liberal college, a liberal university, for my master's degree and my undergraduate. There, I was around liberal people, lived in liberal communities, a lot of liberals in the Science meditation, but also many conservative type people. Like I've been around all these types of demographics, and I know how they're all flawed. Like there's flaws in their worldview. There's good things they have. There's some things that are, that there's some positive things, and there's things they do, and they build communities and things, and they could be good people, but they have some distorted reality based in indoctrination and these other things, like the political parties and these other whatever it is. And so, like if a true saint, if Jesus reincarnated, or true saints, a true spiritual people, or a gifted politician that was, not a piece of shit, showed up, a truth teller, you're already fucked. They would already be fucked because of the overwhelming indoctrination across the board. Because you simply can't tell these people the truth, right? You have to pander to their indoctrination, to their brainwashing, to their mind control. And it's there in every one of these groups of people. They all have something. And if you go against it, they glitch the fuck out and they turn on you. Because they, their beliefs are so, they can't confront their own bullshit, their own, there's a line in the Pearl Jam song Daughter, which is about, sexual abuse. Don't Call Me Daughter, that song. And he said she holds the hand that holds her down, right? And that's just a great way to understand sexual abuse and these other things, right? And so, like, these people are, all of us have been, we have to break free from our, the bullshit that we believe, and, you have to confront it, and it's harder for some people than others. And no matter, what happens, good people, like aliens that would come down, benevolent aliens, or, higher developed souls, they are completely fucked because humanity is completely fucked, right? Like you have all these people that pander to these indoctrinations and do well, these grifters, but good people can't, help you break free when you yourself don't want to break free from your mental cages. Anyways, I just thought I would add that. I'll look at some comments tomorrow. I might read them now. I don't know. And then I'll might add something at the end of this video. And there might be some stuff I add after Erica Kirk or before it. I'll just stick stuff in there before because of the whatever. We'll see what happens. But more than likely, this thing is probably done. And I'll add some, like I said, some comments if there's anything worth addressing. Okay, Sunday, March 8th. This video is going to continue on tomorrow because there's already more shit coming in. There's more of this crazy Paula White shit, and there's a lot. And I want to get back to that crazy Iranian lady. She has a new video. Hopefully, I'll remember to do that. And there's stuff I didn't even get to, more Don Lemon stupidity. And then there was a video from John Stewart at Pete Hegseth talking about, like they're just up front with it, like. They're being deceptive, but in a way that you can see through it very transparently. But, they believe in this stuff, right? Like, there's nothing worse than when you believe in something that God's going to come through for you, and he's not. Like, the people get so, like, crazy. Like, it's one of the craziest things is when people think they're being talked to by God, but it's their own fractured mind. There is channeling. Like, channeling's a big part of every spiritual movement and every invention. Like, the connection with the Ethernet But there is also the risk of madness or negative souls coming in. Like there's always the possibility, because it's anonymous, right? It's only by feeling. Like you could be talking to some cyber developed spirit, and then all of a sudden some negative spirit comes in saying, "Yeah, it's me, Jesus," right? So let's say you're channeling Jesus, and then all of a sudden, you're opening a pathway to, to contacting with souls, but you can't see them. You don't have a voice, or you don't have no way to identify them, right? It's only by feeling. I mean, this happens in the Whispers of the Brighter World quite a bit, where Babaji has to reassure the medium that she's not going crazy, or that it's him, and all these things, right? It's not like you have code words, like a lot of it's based in, just a feel for it, and that's a very subtle thing. Just like with God, you feel God, it's very subtle. God isn't overwhelming. And though these people that believe in some kind of bullshit biblical prophecy or other religious prophecy, and they go on and they start creating their own reality that this is going to work out, and maybe, the divine forces are letting that person, or, not that they're letting, people can do whatever they, within limits. I mean, with consequences, they can do whatever they want in terms of, their own evil creations, their own their own egotistical demonic creations. But, sometimes God encourages somebody to do something for like a, destructive purpose in this case, right? And so these radically fucked up people, who are not connected to God, and they all start drinking their own Kool-Aid. I mean, this is a cult right now, right? The cult of Trump and his fucking bullshit war, and, trying to make it work with Israel and Armageddon and all that shit, so it's fucked. Like, you can just see there's no talking to people like that, because you're questioning their faith and their belief in God. It's like, blasphemy. And they're just so arrogant about it. You can see it with Pete Hegseth in the next video clip too that I show you. I showed you this already. But they're just, they just believe in this, and it's like, this false Christianity that has zero to do with Jesus. They have no connection with Jesus, no connection with God, only in the sense that God is, instrumental, using them as instruments for the destruction of a system that's demonic, right? So they're, they're doing God's work, but not in a way that they would ever, conceive of. And so there's that. There are a few comments I wanted to get to here. Oh, I thought I had more comments. I only have one, and it's not really substantial. Person writes, "Hey, Paul, what do you think of the work of Professor Jiang, Jiang? Absolutely nothing, because I have no idea who that is. Like, it's the first time I've ever heard his name. So I don't think anything of it. I don't watch other truthers. I don't think people understand that. I get sent a lot of stuff, and usually I don't say anything about it because I don't want. There are people who send me good things that I use. There are people who send me things that are, that are either interesting to me, or I use them here. And I would say that happens maybe 25% of the time. And so I don't want to say things because, usually people who are more sensitive are the ones who are, sending me the good stuff. But there's lots of people. Somebody sent me a Facebook message with something today where, they sent me it was, what am I looking at here? It's the guy who broke his arm, and maybe people don't catch up with my videos, but there's the guy's in my thumbnail picture, the Marine who broke his arm, and I just covered this in a video, right? And I'm like, you just not watch my videos, but send me shit, like, and people should have a sense of me, like, the things that I like. A lot of it's just worthless stuff that I don't care about, and I'm not going to watch other truthers because I don't need to. Like, I get it directly from my intuition or whatever it is, and my my vast knowledge at this point in this whole fucking thing that's going on, right? I don't need truthers. Sometimes they send me something that confirms what I'm saying, which I think is a at least that makes sense. But also people send me long videos and videos on health and things that I just don't have time to watch them. Like, I can't watch an hour-long video, and there's no comment, there's no description. People don't say, this is why I'm sending this to you. Like, an explanation of what I'm looking at and what I'm looking for. You're just, I get, like, 15 or 20 messages a day, maybe more, and then all the comments I get. And, it's, if they're going to send me stuff, like, it'd just be like, it would be positive or helpful if you said why you're sending it to me, but not like so long that I have to read fucking pages worth of shit, which I won't read. Like, I'm dyslexic on top of, I've had over, like, I think 15 million comments or something like that, or whatever it was. I figured it out, whatever it was, it was in the millions, like, over 1 million comments is like, this, you can't even think about. Like, I've read that many comments, but I can't read it all. Like, if you send me a very long comment, I'm not reading it, right? I just can't do it, no matter how important you think it is to me. I just don't, like, I have no idea. And it's like, I have to, figure out, like, your voice and, like, how you express yourself and, what you're saying and things like that, So, I mean, people will reach out to me. Someone did this recently, asked me questions about gratefulness, and then I sent, something back to this person. They didn't respond at all. They didn't, like, acknowledge that I sent it, whatever. It just disappeared. Like, people do that shit all the time. Like, you're wasting my fucking time, right? So, there's that. And, I'm saying this in a way that the people who do it will keep on doing it, just like the Trumpers. They're like, oh, you can't be talking about me, or they're not watching my videos, right? I remember when Kamlesh Patel was not a piece of shit, and he was giving the talk about Chargy, and he was slamming everybody. Chargy had 2 kinds of cancer. He could see only out of one eye, was having respiratory issues, and had debilitating pain in his legs. I mean, just was a mess, right? He was going to die within the next 3 or 4 months. But the last couple of years of his life, he was just agony. And he tried to make himself available to everybody. And, the people were going over his house, and he was incoherent. Like, I went over his house, somebody brought me there, and I felt bad. I wanted to leave. It was his house, his son's house. He's giving it to his son now, and he's, he was mostly trying to stay at the ashram, but he couldn't. He was too sick. They had a cottage there. And he would come out and make himself available, and I was like, oh my God, he looks, I don't like, just sucking the last bit of energy out of him, right? And Kamlesh said, Babaji had said, Kamlesh was dodgy. This was before he was a piece of shit. And he said, Babaji had said that, you get to meet your spiritual master once in your life. And that's all you need. And every time after that's a bonus. And he said, how many bonuses do you need? These people are going over his house and just sitting around the house, pissing off the neighbors. It was a nice neighborhood. He was a successful businessman, Chargy was. And he had a nice, Indian neighborhood, the fucking, equivalent to American millionaires living in that neighborhood. And there'd be 200 people. And Kamlesh said at one point, I'm saying all this stuff, but the people I'm lecturing here aren't even here. They're over his house, right? And so that's the problem. Like, there's people just send me shit, but they're not watching my videos, and they're not really attuned to what's good for you. And I get a lot of good stuff from people, so I don't want to say things to discourage the people that send me shit. That's either interesting or I use in videos. But like, there's just so much stuff. I'm like, why are you sending me this? Like, I don't understand. Like, is this, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like you're sending it to somebody else. Like, anybody who would know what I do in terms of what I present here, I'm not, this is not of interest. Or they send me stuff and I have to figure out. It's like a puzzle. Like, you send me a long video. Like, some people send stuff with timestamps and, a brief explanation so that I can understand what's, and, it helps me out a lot when people do that. Like, it's very, beneficial to me. So anyways, there's that. I'm going to look through some more comments here, but I also want to do a brief health update. So things are going really well in terms of, the benefits I'm experiencing from this weird stuff I'm going through with the heart. Like, I haven't had the rapid heartbeat where it went up to 200 plus beats, 248, 250, I guess it was, beats per minute. That was crazy. Like, it just, and, it's like, well, that's just not good. Like, it's serious, right? The little thing I put on my finger was like beeping, like, oh my God, you're going to die, fucking, It was admitting this, this finger thing that you put on to measure your pulse rate. But, I haven't had that. And so, but I have felt like just off a lot, like about, I don't know. Some days I'm perfectly fine, but some days I woke up yesterday, felt like shit all day. Like I woke up with my heartbeat was at 90, and it went up and down the whole day. And I was just like, my wife and I went out, and I was just concerned about the whole time. It's just it's shitty. But like my meditations are great, and I'm, changing the way I eat and things like this. One of the good things is, I've had this issue where I get famished and I like need energy. Like I burn through energy. I got like the fastest metabolism you could have. And so, I, like I said, I got in the habit of eating late at night and couldn't sleep without eating late at night. But now I'm able to do that. I'm just trying to manage that to where I'm not getting desperate, but I'm not, and when I feel hungry, I feel actually good and my heart's working great. My stomach, it's tied to my gut. There's a whole thing. But I'm having a definitely, like spiritually, I'm changing. Like it's, I'm going through something that's happening on a physical level even. Like I feel really good about it. I'm getting comments from people. People are, there's might be some energetic shit going on, like energetic weaponry. I mean, people are also experiencing this. Of course, there's COVID stuff and people got the vax and all that shit. That's, even if you didn't get the vax, people are passing the spike protein on to, it's a fucking whole thing, right? But anyways, like, I just want to emphasize the spiritual benefits. Like, there's just something, good about it. Like, I feel good at my meditations. I'm taking more interest in that. And, like, the way I'm eating now is better. It's more subtle. As a vegetarian for a while, I was always hungry, because, I mean, I wasn't built to be physically be a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for 18 years because of the size mark system, but had to eat meat. And then doing this job, and now I'm doing more physical stuff on the farm, too. I burn through, calories and things, and I just need to, but I have to, I try to like keep myself like 80%, I don't get more than 80% full, so my belly doesn't bloat, and that's been, so anyways, like there's been some benefit. Okay, really no comments here. This one was about here. It looks like YouTube are trying to use their advertisements to censor your channel. I'm getting hit with 2 to 4 minutes of adverts every 4 to 6 minutes of your videos. I can skip the adverts after about 20 seconds, but it's making your product hard to watch, which seems to be their goal. It's not happening on other channels. YouTube are jumping the shark, preferring study their business model and alienate their customers by studying their customer base as a way of pushing the official narrative, trying to silence content that isn't in line with the official narrative. I think, people think that YouTube is, they have opened things back up. Like since Trump's been president, YouTube never wanted to censor. Like they didn't do it in the beginning. Like when truther, there's so many great truther content out there. It used to be copyright strikes was a big thing. And they figured ways around that, shared revenue and things like this so that there wouldn't be copyright strikes. So YouTube was, YouTube wants as many people, all these platforms, social media platforms, they want eyeballs. They want as many people using their platforms as possible. That's where they, generate their market cap and all that shit. And so, there was a video, there was a documentary on Netflix about how, there's all this, the way that they would push conspiracy content, right? Because that was the stuff that was driving their network. They realized that, the so-called conspiracy videos were the best thing out there for them. And it used to be like, free. It was like fucking the Wild West. But then, they realized the powers that be, they had to rein that shit in. And so they compromised it with dumb fuck right-wing truthers who they promoted. People that they own, shills like, Tucker and Candace and, and all these other people. And they got rid of all the, like, independent people, and they just... And also their ad revenue is... They don't have as many commercials, especially at this time of year. So they run these long-ass commercials that I don't get any money for unless you watch 2 minutes... Like, no one should watch 2-minute shitty commercial. Like, I don't expect people to do that, right? So they don't give smaller channels the good ads, and they give it to celebrities like Will Smith and fucking, shit like that. So, it's a failed business model. I could, go just donation, but I wouldn't make enough money to do this as a job. So that's where I'm at. Like, the membership program makes up about 1/3 of my income. I'm making like fucking bare minimum of what I should be making. And so I would, demonetize the channel, but they can still run commercials. And so like that's fucked too. So I could just not run ads on some of the longer videos, but then they'd have to be, people would have to donate enough to make it worth my while. So, that's where I'm at. And I'm not a businessman, and I put all the time into this as I can. Like, I make content every day, even though the videos don't go up every day. I make 5 videos a week, and I'm making videos every day, regardless of whether I put a video up or not. So, buying a YouTube membership. I mean, I have a YouTube membership, like the YouTube, the whatever it is, the elite package, and it's not that expensive, and I get to save videos on my phone and other things, which in a post-apocalyptic situation is like kind of a good idea. And I don't see ads and things like that, which I enjoy. People pay for subscriptions to all these other shitty platforms and never use those platforms. And there's probably people paying for subscriptions to something right now that they haven't used in 6 months. And they're just giving free money away to Hulu or whatever it is, but not to YouTube. And like they think YouTube's somehow more evil, but there's better content on YouTube. And when you have a YouTube subscription, you don't get ads and you support the channels. Like, my channel, if you watch it a lot, will get more percentage of your whatever it is, right? So, I don't know how it works monetarily, but anyways, it's like that's an option. All right, let me wrap this thing up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramount, definitely pointing for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.